not used to responding to such an emotionally well-done, extraordinary play, but I'm trying to gather my thoughts in responding to this extraordinary effort. I'm an emergency physician, and I've studied disease patterns all my career. And as an emergency physician, I study patterns of disease. And my response to this extraordinary story is that I've just heard an extraordinary outbreak of kinetic energy. Some of you may know I was the first physician who greeted the surviving gunshot wound victims of the Sikh shooting. There, the same case fatality ratio of that kinetic energy outbreak was strangely similar to this play that we've just heard about. High case fatality ratio is a public health term indicating severe ratio of death versus the cases. A lot of people died, a few survived. Somewhat like Ebola. So as a physician, I view gun violence as a biosocial disease. It has a biology. We just heard it. People died. People are injured. The disease is following the diseases I've studied and many of us have studied in medical school. There's an agent for this disease. It's the bullet carrying kinetic energy. It's a physical agent of disease. You can find that in the pathophysiology textbook that we study. So that kinetic energy results in tissue tearing, organ dysfunction, fractures, and death. So it's natural for me as a physician to look at the kinetic energy from the bullet to think about the gun and its relationship to a teenager. Access to lethal means. For us to determine how can we prevent, how can we reduce the likelihood of despondent teenagers getting access to lethal means. And we're studying this as a pattern that we see across the United States that was referenced in this extraordinary play. We're trying to figure out how can we identify more accurately those patterns and reduce access to lethal means. I think my time is up, or is that?
Your time is not up. Go ahead.
Thank you. Many of you probably saw the movie Skyfall, when Q gave James Bond a gun. It was a smart gun. Bad guy took the gun away from James Bond. James Bond said, "You're not going to be able to use this." The bad guy tries to shoot James Bond, can't shoot him, and he gets swallowed by a lizard. Access to lethal means. How does a 15, 16-year-old teenager get access to lethal means? Well, we as a nation want to have a product for self-protection. So we've got a lot of work to do, and my emotional response to this brings me back to the Sikh shooting, and how did that despondent adult get access to lethal means, turned it on peace-loving people, and then himself. So my framing is this as a physician is look at the physical agent, understand it, and I do, among others. I've treated hundreds of gunshot wound victims. And how do we help communities and families address this in a meaningful way while we also address this product that moves among our community, just like we've done for cars. Remember, he talked about a Porsche. He talked about a child seat to protect his child. All that was referenced in the play. I thought that was interesting because the most common cause of death of young people today is kinetic energy from cars and guns. So that's my response to this extraordinary personal story that unfortunately reflects too many cities across the United States.